Eloquently speaking. Welcome to Legal Talk, where law meets justice and advocacy meets action. I'm your host, Dr. Vickie Simon, and in today's episode, we're interrupting regular programming because something's happening right now that affects all of us. The Trump administration is rehiring hundreds of federal employees who were laid off earlier this year under the Department of Government Efficiency. But this move isn't just about rehiring people. It's about power, and it's about who gets thrown away and who gets called back. It's about systems that are broken and how they hurt everyday people like you and me. In the next few minutes, I'll be breaking down the story so far with up-to-date facts, the real impacts on public service, communities, and marginalized groups, and what this tells us about government accountability and institutional abuse. What we must demand so this never happens again. So now, here's what's going on. Let me lay out a few facts for you. Earlier this year, the Trump administration's initiative led to massive workforce reductions across federal agencies. Many workers were asked to resign via the Deferred Resignation Program. Among these casualties, dozens of roles at the General Services Administration, the GSA, like real estate, property management, and related admin teams. Now, the GSA is issuing a return to work notice. Hundreds are being offered their jobs back with a reporting date of October the 6th in most cases. The rehiring now is not in full effect yet, and the terms may be less than ideal. Some positions may be scaled down, and some workers may be rehired without full previous benefits. At the same time, federal agencies are being told to prepare for mass firings again in the event of a government shutdown. Also worth noting, earlier this year, about 154,000 federal workers accepted buyouts or left under incentives as a part of the downsizing push. Now, here are a few key takeaways. This isn't just about rehiring. It's a symptom of a deeper power play over who controls federal institutions and how public service is devalued when it conflicts with political agendas. Why this is important now for you and your community, let me help you connect the dots. Loss of institutional knowledge and service gaps. When you fire a large number of experienced public servants, you erase institutional memory. Those people who knew how the system operates, who knew how to get things done. Now, we are forced to deal with understaffed agencies, which will mean slower services, permits getting delayed, public infrastructure suffers, and public health and safety programs will now falter. Now, let's think about who will get hurt first. Of course, it will be the marginalized communities. The cuts disproportionately impacted many roles held by Black, Brown, women, and other underrepresented employees. These changes now intensify racial and gender inequities in the workforce. In neighborhoods that rely on federal programs like housing, social services, health programs, and grants, when agencies are crippled, these services suffer first. The instability sends a message. Public service is disposable, and that mental load falls hardest on those already carrying most of the burdens. Now, when we think about weaponizing employment as political pressure, this cycle shows how the government can throw away human beings when it suits them, then scramble to reinstate just enough to cover their failures. The flip-flopping demonstrates a lack of respect for the dignity of work and the value of public institution. Now, this is where trust erodes. When agencies are unstable, when employees are vulnerable, the public loses trust. We begin to believe the government doesn't care because sometimes it doesn't. Now, what this reveals about power and governance. This is about executive overreach, using reorganizations, firings, and rehiring as tools to centralize control. Now, let's look at related developments. The firing of 17 inspector generals, which a federal judge later ruled was illegal. The push to classify federal jobs under Schedule F, which strips away civil service protections. These are not random moves, guys. These are coordinated strategies to weaken accountability, reduce checks, and reshape the government to be loyal to a political agenda. Here's what we must do to demand moving forward. This is what we must demand moving forward. This is where we flip from analysis to action. We need to legally codify job protections for federal workers. This will strengthen the laws that prevent mass firings without cause. This will protect whistleblowers and enforcement mechanisms. We need to do independent oversight and audits, investigate the cost of these decisions. How much was the loss and how much will it cost us now to rehire? We need to make agencies release reports, internal memos, and assessments. We need to restore and strengthen civil service rights. Stop the efforts that turn career roles into political publics, like the Schedule F effort. We need to empower workers with collective bargaining rights and union protections. We also need public participation. We need public pressure. We need to write to federal representatives. We need to support agency and unions like the AFGE, the American Federation of Government Employees. We need to demand transparency from agency heads and transparency from the White House. We need to utilize the media, use social media, and demand stories get told. We need to also watch for implementation, not just focus on announcements. Don't settle for reheated PR. We need to expect audits, performance measures, and accountability. When rehired, we need to ensure that people are treated fairly with back pay and restoring lost benefits and no retaliation. Now, what just happened isn't a bad press cycle. It is a total reveal. It's us seeing how easily people can be discarded, how systems can be manipulated. But this is our moment. This is our time. We can demand the law over whim. We can demand dignity. We can demand accountability. So when you see headlines tomorrow about rehiring or layoffs, please don't just stroll past them. Use your vote, use your voice, and use your power. Because when our public institutions are weakened, we all feel it, especially in communities already pushed to the margin. This is why we have to stay informed. This is why we have to stay ethical. And this is why we have to keep serving our communities. Legal talk is not just commentary. Legal talk is about resistance. If today's episode touched you at all, please share it, please like it, and please tell a friend. Please speak up. Let's make sure that this is one of many episodes that changes not just minds, but changes and reverse policies. When they try to erase you, you need to show them how loud your roar is. Thank you so much for tuning in to Legal Talk today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. We'll see you next week for another episode more on transformation and about rethinking how we can solve current problems, not through silence, but through synergy and through strategy. Thank you so much.